In the West Indies mission, compared with other missions, it is very safe. Like, sure, everybody will get into sketchy situations. The only, at the time that I lived there, the only red zones that we had, is just kind of what we coined them, just places that we didn't really go, were in Trinidad or Guyana. Most of the other islands didn't really have any. Just using general common sense, just following the rules in the missionary handbook will really keep you safe. Just being careful if you're traveling at night, or, varying your routes and things like that. What happens most often in each of the islands, the people are very religious, and even people who tend to more towards crime or things like that, they're still kind of religious to the point of superstition. And so even, criminals that are known for very bad reputations, most often they don't really deal with the missionaries. They don't touch the missionaries. If anything, they'll protect the missionaries, just because they know that we represent God. And so the only people that I remember, or that I've ever heard of anybody having trouble with, is usually just like young teenagers or stuff who wanted to mess with us. I did get robbed at gunpoint at one point. That was in Trinidad. We weren't in a bad neighborhood at all. It was like right around the corner from our apartment, which is in a really nice neighborhood. It was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So there really wasn't anything to it, because we were following the rules. We were just going home. We weren't in a bad situation or anything. All they ended up taking from us, they did take our cameras, which I was kind of disappointed about because I had a lot of pictures on there, but they ended up taking like 60 TT, which is Trinidadian dollars, which equates to about $10 US. So it wasn't that big of a loss. I mean, it was frustrating, but that was the only time that I ever remember feeling in danger in the mission. As for the other islands, you really don't experience things like that. Like I said, the people are generally knowledgeable about who you are and what you represent. So people may harass you, they may yell stuff at you, if they're just particularly mean-spirited or they have a bad day. But more often than not, people there are very accepting of representatives of Jesus Christ, and they treat you like it. Like, all that really happened was we were coming home in the afternoon. I can't exactly remember what it was for, if we hadn't eaten lunch or something like that, but it was about 3 o'clock. And so we were just walking down the street. It wasn't a side street or anything like that. It was just a, very open neighborhood, and there were just two teenagers that were sitting right there. And I saw them, and they were acting kind of funny, but I didn't think too much of it, so we just kept walking towards them. One of them then put a mask on his face, just like a handkerchief, and then he pulled a gun out of his his pants, and then just said, "Hey, give us your wallet and stuff." And so you're like, "All right, whatever." And then I mostly was just really frustrated by it. That was the thing, more than scared. I was really kind of angry when he had taken off, like he'd gone in our backpacks and taken our cameras, because I had a lot of pictures on there. But other than that, they just took it, they ran off, and that was really all that could be done about it, because they kind of just ran off. But we had another guy who came up and asked us, and was like, "Oh man, like I'll tell them not to interfere with you or anything," because everybody knows everybody up there. But yeah, overall, like, we didn't have any other problems than that. Even in that area, like, there wasn't any place we were afraid of going.
Probably a crazy experience would be like when I made it on the news in the Netherlands, and that was because I was flying with one of my companions to the Mission Leadership Conference that was located in Trinidad. So we were flying from Bonaire to Curacao. And we had to stay the night because our flight was canceled. And this happens a lot, so get ready for delayed and canceled flights. So we had to spend the night in Curacao, and we want to go out processing. I had served in the area before. Well, let's go out. Well, it was like 7 p.m. It was already dark, so you should already be careful during that time anyways. But I was just trying to think of what I could do, because I didn't know if the missionaries were already going to visit people I had taught, or if they had, or if they were there, we didn't want to show up during their lesson. And so we just went to one neighborhood. We had an amazing lesson with this woman who wasn't fully active in the church. And once again, there's these biker groups of like teenagers. And so this moped started like following us. I was like, okay, it's time for us to go. And then they stopped, and there's like the biker gangs, and these are like just little bikes. They're not big bikes. They're just like little tiny pedaling bikes. And one guy hopped on the moped, and they were following us. I was like, okay, this is not good. Started biking faster. And of course he wasn't my companion, but he was like one of the other zone leaders, and he was behind me. And then One of the guys on the moped, like I look back and my companion was slowing down. I see the guy on the moped was holding out a gun, was yelling in Dutch, and then in English, like, "Give me the bike, give me the bike." And so like I stop and I like look back at my companion and he looks at me and like I kind of just give him the look like, well, like if you want to tackle him, like I'll tackle him. Like if you want to just give him the bike, like I'll do whatever you want. We're just kind of like debating like 10 seconds looking at each other like, okay, are they really going to shoot us? Are they really going to? Of course, cars like whizzing by during this time, but like no one's paying attention. And so he just gives them the bike and then they like bike off. Of course, they don't get my bike because there's only two of them and there's one moped and one stolen bike. So I still have my bike and we are in this country. We didn't have a phone. And so we just like walk back to the apartment and we realize we don't have keys for the apartment either. So we just knock on the door of the neighbor, we call the cops and they come and of course I understand what they're saying. So the cops are like, oh, these dumb Americans, they made up this dumb story and all these things. The actual investigators for the crime come and they talk to us when we get to the station. And of course I'm keeping secret that I know Papiamento, I know what they're saying. And they were very, very helpful. They interviewed us. They are very interested because normally it never happens when someone's robbed for a bike because you get shot. You always, always, always lock up your bike. Always lock up your bike. Use those locks. Do not be stupid. But in this case, it was totally different because they had actually they'd robbed us. And so they went through and looked at it. The bike was never found. No one was ever caught, but we were safe and it was fine, but definitely was like adrenaline pumping. Yeah, so I didn't find this out till later, but we made it in the newspaper, and then it actually made it on the news in the Netherlands on the news because, of course, this is in Dutch, so I don't understand everything, but it was basically like, Americans get robbed by gunpoint. Like, it was like a big deal because they robbed us for a bike. And also then it's just like, the Americans seemed confused by these other languages, and I was just like, no one knew that I actually spoke it, but I thought it was best that they didn't know. So, and of course I find this out like a month later. I'm like, they didn't get my permission to put me viral. Like, where's my legal rights? But I didn't know what the legal rights were in the country. So it's just a nice story to say.
So in Trinidad, we walked everywhere. We didn't have bikes because the bikes were stolen too fast. Guyana, I walked everywhere. We couldn't have bikes because the bikes were stolen too fast. In Barbados, I was there for 9 months. That was the only country that you could have bikes because they were stolen, but not too fast. So for the 9 months I was there, my bike was stolen twice, which I guess is it's not fast enough to not do it. But we had me and my missionary companion, Elder Raymond, and I were teaching a discussion to a guy in a warehouse, and after the end of the discussion, he says, "Hey, can we borrow your bike?" And we says, "Oh, we can't loan our bikes out." And they say, "Oh, I'm just going to use it. Just want to go down the street. I'll come right back." And they're like, "We're not really supposed to let anybody ride our bikes." And then he pulled out a knife and took the bike and took off and laughed on his way riding away. So we filed the police report. We went down, and then we were called. They had a voicemail to come down to the station because we had to pick this guy out in the lineup. They think they caught the guy from our description. And they said, "Did he say ha 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 after he left?" We said, "Yeah, that's actually exactly what he did." And they said, "Well, his name is Ha Ha, and he steals people's things, then he laughs as he leaves away." I'm not kidding about this. And there's a little old lady that was there, and there's another person that was there that were also saying that they got their bike stolen from this person. So so we go in this room, and they say, "Now you need to pick him out in a lineup." So I was like, "Whoa, cool. This is going to be like CSI. I'm going to walk in there. My life is going to be protected, and there's going to be this big glass, and they're all going to be behind it, and big old bright lights are going to be all up in their corneas, and I'm going to be way back here, and it's fine." I walk in this room. They're all just standing right there, and with no handcuffs, nothing, just standing there with maybe one guard. There's like 10 guys and one guard, and then me and my companion. I did not feel safe because I think those 10 could have easily taken me and my companion, this policeman, who had, I think, just a baton. I don't even know what he had. But so we're standing there, and I said, "It's that guy right there." And And then he says, you need to go up to him and tap him on the shoulder so we know exactly who you're pointing to. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you must be out of your mind. So I go up to him, tap him on the shoulder, and walk back. All the other 9 guys, because it's the West Indies, they all laughed and thought it was hilarious because I picked the same guy that my companion picked. Actually, my companion wasn't there with me because I think we went in separately. And so my companion picked the same person, and so did the old lady. So everybody thought that was hilarious that he got picked out 3 times in a row. And then, so then they took him to jail, and that was their justice system. And so that was awesome. But I love the good attitude of the other 9 suspects and how funny they thought it was, and how scared I was to go up and tap him. I don't know if my companion was as scared as I was because he was a lot bigger, and I think he even knew like some of the martial arts. Which I asked him later, so why don't you just karate chop that guy for taking our bikes? He says the Lord wouldn't have done that, was his response.